Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Good morning, peace and blessings to each and every one of you. This is my second hangout this morning, and I'm going to wait a couple of minutes for some people to join, and then I'm going to play a video, and then I'm going to provide my commentary. Before I begin to play the video, I just want to put a disclaimer out there for YouTube to let them know, obviously, this is fair use. I'm going to play a video from CNN, and I'm going to comment on that video. So it's fair use. It's a matter of me expressing my views on this particular video. So I don't, hopefully I won't get any kind of copyright strikes or any of that kind of stuff. Shout out to Water Sniper. Thanks for tuning in. And I see that you said that you have that video on your page. I'm going to have to check out your channel. And I see Felicia has also said that she has it on her channel as well. Good morning to you. Good morning to Water Sniper and the other people who are watching. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. I would appreciate it. I want to make sure that I'm coming through loud and clear and not choppy before I get started. So I'll wait a couple of minutes for you all to let me know if you can hear me all okay. Water Sniper, can you hear me? Felicia, can y'all hear me well? Okay, I guess if they're saying that they haven't said that they can't hear me, so I'm assuming that everything's a go. So I'm going to share my screen and then begin to provide my commentary after I play this audio for you all. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so this is on my Facebook page. And if you're not following me on Facebook, I encourage you to follow me at New Possibilities blog on Facebook. I post a lot of the stories that I discuss here on YouTube on my Facebook page before I actually discuss them. And also, I plan to get back to doing my written blogs as well. I have to get back to that. That's one of my New Year's resolutions. So you all can look out for articles on that. If you, I will have a link in the description box to my blog, my written blog, and to my other pages as well. So I hope you all can continue to support my channel. So I'm going to play this video. We're going to listen to it together and watch it together. And then afterwards, I'm going to provide my commentary. And I'm probably going to be taking some notes during this video. I didn't watch the full thing yet, so I'm going to watch it live with you all now and share my thoughts. And also, I want to hear from you all about your thoughts about this. So let's go.
Hate is a very destructive thing. That hate is going to go outward, and it's going to hurt a considerable amount of people, or that hate is going to go inward, and it's going to destroy you.
I'm going to take it back to the beginning.
Hate is a very destructive thing. That hate is going to go outward, and it's going to hurt a considerable amount of people, or that hate is going to go inward, and it's going to destroy you from the inside out. I did a lot of terrible things, and God gave me another chance. I'm in love with this woman. I'm happy to be married to this woman, and I want everybody to know that. The one here in the middle, Catherine, is wearing my brass knuckles championship belt. She worked as my manager that night, and the belt over my shoulder is for the United States Taped Fist Wrestling Championship. The name's Keith Snyder. People have been calling me Duke since I was a year old. I'm a Brooklyn resident, and I'm a man who's been through the meat grinder of life.
My name is Catherine Bones. I live in Marine Park, Brooklyn.
I was working for a security corporation, and she asked me to be her personal bodyguard.
he decided to take my case after everything I've been through.
She was married to a man that was beating her on a daily basis practically, although she couldn't afford my usual salary. When I heard her life story, I just couldn't let her go unprotected, and I took that mission completely free of charge.
This is Duke's comfort.
I let her have a room in one of the bedrooms in my house.
Eat like this, Coke and Black. I gotta get a little sugar and half with Master Mike. I was a love when I first met him. He's kind-hearted, gentle, and he was a real man. He opened car doors for me. He'd pull out the seat for me so I could sit down in the restaurant.
I had the feelings at the onset. Here she is walking around with the feelings she has, and here I am walking around with the feelings I have, that I was very seriously restraining and suppressing. In 2005, she was riding a bus, and on that bus there were several skinheads that started bantering and harassing her.
They were telling me you're in the wrong neighborhood. I was afraid, that they might do something.
I figured the next best move to make would be to join some neo-Nazi group that could put a spotlight on skinhead activity in New York City. I found the National Socialist Movement. I became a member of that group very quickly. My interest in Nazism dates back to age 5. As a child living in an extremely dysfunctional family, I was exposed to a lot of physical violence. As a frightened child, as a beaten child, as a physically weak child, I saw my first documentary on Adolf Hitler, and I immediately became fascinated with the strength that they projected. And this just became an obsession after a period of time. This is all that's left of what once was. I received my very first uniform. When I put it on and looked in the mirror, everything just seemed to go right back in regression to my childhood fascinations on where I've always wanted to be, on what I've always wanted to be.
I didn't like it at the time, but I kept it inside. I said, he's going to get out of there sooner or later. There's not a racist bone in his body.
The National Socialist Movement has a very active, very disciplined SS division. I was the chief of SS forces, and I was in full command of these commandos.
When I first met Duke, he gave no indication that he was part of the neo-Nazi movement at all. All I knew is before me was a very frightened man who was desperate for help. Later on, as we spoke about how he got involved, I believe one of the main reasons was it gave him purpose, it gave him meaning. He did have this sense that he was helping our country, and it made him feel good.
What did I fear about? That he would get killed for somebody else.
I thought that I was definitely a part of this now for life. I wasn't a human being anymore. And I felt like a man riding on the back of a tiger. You don't dismount that tiger. It took a jolt, like cancer, to actually give me a shake and wake me up. When I got my diagnosis, Catherine had taken the trip with me. And after they told me what they told me, the first thing I said to her was, I'm going to die, Catherine.
I was praying every day. I said, the Lord is going to heal him. I took him to my church, let him talk to the pastor.
And he says, well, I want to pray for you, but I can't as long as you're involved in what you're involved in.
I asked him would he be willing to renounce his affiliation with the National Socialist Movement, and he said yes, he would do that.
Whatever life I have left, I want it to be as a free man. I don't want to be known as a Nazi anymore. It's taken my life over, and it's gotten me just about nothing but a world full of enemies. Before I went in for surgery, Catherine had told me, she says, listen, I've been in love with you ever since you decided to be my bodyguard. Catherine stayed there all through the night with me, and I took her hand and I said, you know, just as soon as I get my strength back, I'm going to marry you. And we got married on October 27th.
It was beautiful. From when he took me to King's Plaza to get the rings, I didn't believe him. And then we bought the dress at King's Plaza, the blue dress. He picked out the color. Then we went to church. And then I said I do twice. I said it twice.
It's the first time in my life that I've actually come to know real, actual love. And I have no difficulties whatsoever returning that love.
Every day is like a honeymoon. We sit in front of the TV set, watch old movies. Everywhere we go, we hold hands. We would stop and kiss. He would wake me at 3 o'clock in the morning and tell me he loved me. I said, I love you too, Duke. Now go back and sleep.
You really have to love somebody an awful lot if you're going to stick by them and they're involved in all that kind of a mess, because most other people would just simply pack their bags and walk.
I stuck by him to thick and thin, no matter what he was involved in. I didn't leave. Right by his side.
All right, so that was the story. I'm gonna close that. Just bear with me a second. So I'm gonna look over your comments before I provide my comment about this whole situation. One thing I will say is this. I mean, it is crazy that she met him while he was still a Nazi, while he was still a white supremacist. That's the crazy thing about it. Okay, so y'all could hear well. Okay, I'm glad that y'all could hear everything. And Felicia said that this screams fetish all day. And X said, times are changing, and if black men want black women back, they need to change their battle plan. Can you elaborate? What do you mean by that? I want to hear from you. What do you actually mean by that? Water Sniper said he has cancer, so he got a gullible Stockholm syndrome, spiritually broken black woman to take care of him during his last dying days, knowing some white girl probably would not do it. Wow. And naturally, NOLA said, she said she loved him and he didn't say he loved her. She was looking for a savior and he was vulnerable. Late Night Nap said, wow, this is a hoax promoting something that only movies could write. Yeah, so I want to hear from Ann X, like, what does she mean by black men need to change their battle plan? You know, she said if black men want black women back, they need to change their battle plan. You know, first of all, I don't think there's a question of fighting to get black women back. Most black women date and marry black men. So it's not a question of most black women leaving black men. And because of this pathetic example of a black woman dating and marrying a white supremacist, I don't think that that's an example of like how all these black women are making some kind of exodus away from black men. That's one pathetic black woman who decided to get in a relationship with a Nazi, with a white supremacist. And, you know, they began this friendship. while he was still a Nazi, while he was still a white supremacist. That's one of the things that makes it so outrageous and so ridiculous. Out of all the people in the world to choose, this woman decides to be with a white supremacist, somebody who acknowledged that he did a lot of terrible things. And it wasn't like this happened years ago or whatever when he was a young person. This was recent. If you look at those photographs in that video, you will see that those were recent photographs of that man in a Nazi uniform. And you have to ask yourself, why does that man still have that Nazi uniform? He had it in some kind of special bag and all this and that. I'm not convinced that he's reformed. I'm not convinced. I mean, this man had been a Nazi for the longest of time. This man talked about how he was inspired by the Nazis. He was fascinated by them by the age of 5 years old, and he had been indoctrinated at that early age, and you know how he got into these different hate groups and all that kind of stuff. And then only recently he got into this relationship with this black woman. I am not convinced that this man is no longer a white supremacist. I'm not convinced. You know, after harboring all that hatred towards black people and other so-called minorities and stuff like that, I find it hard to believe that all of a sudden this man found the way and got enlightened and all of a sudden he loves black people. You know, I've done all these videos before about white races having no problem being with black people. We look at slavery. We see that the slave master had what he called bed wenches. That's what he referred to black women as, and belly warmers. They had no problem laying down with black women, having sex with black women. You have the example of a white supremacist, you know, a separatist, that guy Strom Thurmond, a staunch segregationist, a man who defended Jim Crow. But yet this man had sexual relations with a black woman. And according to some stories, she was underage and all that kind of stuff. So again, these people had no problem laying down with black women, you know, having a black bed wench or belly warmer. They have no problem with that. And when you look at history, you see that that's what happens when people are conquered. You know, the conquering group, the first thing that they do is they annihilate the men and they seize the women, they enslave the women, and they have sex with the women, and they conquer the people that way. So, you know, the fact that this guy is with some black woman means nothing to me. That doesn't mean that this guy is no longer racist. You know, despite the show he's putting on for CNN and all that kind of stuff, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I don't believe that someone that spends an entire lifetime hating all of a sudden turns over a new leaf. And I find it sickening that you would have a black woman be with a white supremacist, be with somebody that thinks that, you know, that for years believed that he was superior to black people because of the color of his skin. A man who admitted to doing terrible things. What type of terrible things did that man do? We know that those neo-Nazis and those Aryans commit all kinds of acts of violence against black people, against Latino people, against other immigrants and groups. We know their history. But yet this black woman felt that it was fine to be with this guy. You know, I understand that she was in some abusive relationship before and she needed somebody to protect her and all this and that. And this guy volunteered to be a bodyguard for this woman. I understand that. And I would be interested in knowing like the race of the person that she was with before, if that was a black, you know, and it's probably a black man. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a black man that she was in a relationship with. But, you know, I just find it crazy, man, that out of all the people in the world that you would select a white supremacist, a Nazi to be with. But you see this all the time. I mean, there are examples of black women who are with racist white men. Plenty of examples. Like you had that example of that woman that was with this white guy who was calling black people the N-word and, you know, saying all these derogatory things about Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff. You've seen that example. There's an article in Essence magazine, and I'm going to pull that article up for the purposes of this video so you all can see it. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to Google it first just to bring home this point. So if you can bear with me a second. To just bring home this point, so I'm going to share it to my screen again. I just don't understand what's wrong with these women who decide to be with racists. And I'm also going to share that other story that I mentioned. I'm going to try to pull it up. There should be some old stories up. I've done videos on it. I think her name is Madison. I can't remember her first name, so I don't want to mess it up. But I'll post that as well. I'm going to talk about that briefly as a reminder. But this is the article that I was referencing, where you had this black woman married to a white racist. This woman was newly married, and she said that her husband calls her the N-word during sex, and she feels disgusted and ashamed and betrayed. This article says that her husband, this white man, calling her nigger bitch during sex. Again, that goes to the point that somebody was raising in the live chat about fetishes. A lot of these people, these white racists, they have fetishes when it comes to black women. They love the idea of having a black woman submit to them and be their Negro bed wench. That's their fetish. So this woman talked about how her husband is from a white old money family, and she's a first generation Black American whose family was from Jamaica. They met at a reunion at an Ivy League school that they both attended. And then she goes on to say, the first time he used the N-word was during sex on their honeymoon. And then he explained that a black woman that he dated in the past enjoyed being called racial slurs. Enjoyed that. What kind of black woman enjoys that? I mean, as someone mentioned, some of these people, they suffer from Stockholm syndrome. They literally identify with and adore their captors, their oppressors. Literally. And then this article goes on to say, another time he joked that he had purchased my freedom. And then it talked about how he made jokes about her pubic hair. He called it my Negro bush. And he referred to himself as a nigger lover. This is a white man married to a black woman. And this is just mind-blowing. I've referenced this article before, but just going through it just tells me like how messed up some of our women are to be in these kinds of situations. Now, I understand in her situation, she didn't really know this guy. And that tells something about her. Like, why did she thoroughly vet this guy before she married him, before she got in a relationship with him? Why is she just finding this stuff out once she's in a relationship with this guy? So let's keep going through this article. And then, this white man that she was married to said that she's being overly sensitive because he loves her to death and should get a black pass for marrying her, meaning he should have a pass to use the N-word against this woman. And he also said that if black people can use the N-word, why can't he use it? And then it says, every time we try having sex again, the slurs fly. And then she talked about how her sex life is pretty much over because of this. And then even despite all this, she refers to him as her sexy, handsome man. She talks about how she feels completely turned off. She said, I love my husband deeply, so please don't tell me to leave him because that's not what I want to do. Because that's not what I want to do. I mean, you heard what he said, referring to her as the N-word, you know, making all these derogatory comments, doing sex and stuff, you know, using the N-word, feeling like he's entitled to use the N-word. But yet and still, this woman says, I love my husband deeply, so please don't tell me to leave him because that's not what I want to do. If this is not a Stockholm syndrome, I don't know what is. And then she asked, like, instead of asking like some real questions, she said, how can I regain my sexual attraction for my husband? She said, please tell me racial slurs are normal between interracial couples. And then this woman provides her advice. But yeah, this is an article that I constantly cite. I'll include a link in the description box so that you all could read that article for yourself. But yeah, I just think that it's crazy, man. You know, that you have people out there that have no problem being in relationships with white racist men. And it's not that uncommon, unfortunately. Oh, and let me pull up that other article before I forget about, I think her name is Madison. Let me Google that real quick. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, her name is Madison Amelia. That's her name. I couldn't remember what her name was. So if y'all could bear with me a second. I'm going to pull up, share this screen so that y'all can see this. But this just tells you how brainwashed some of our people are, like how they literally worship the white man. You know, literally worship an oppressor. So let me share this real quick. And I'm going to play this video as well. Hopefully YouTube won't be on that BS and try to flag it for copyright, because this is fair use. And if they do flag it, I am going to fight it, as I fought these bogus charges before. But yeah, here's the story right here. It's about a woman from Rhode Island. Her name is Madison Amelia. I've done a couple of videos on her. I just couldn't remember her name. And this article is from actually from 2016, so it's been a minute. So she posted a video of her boyfriend making all kinds of racist statements. This is her ex-boyfriend. So I'm just going to play it. I'm going to play the video. This is a black woman videotaping her boyfriend making racist statements. Hold on, let me turn the audio up. Hold on, I'm going to take it back because the audio wasn't on.
You know what? That's what Trump just the second he's elected. You all you motherfuckers take it back. You don't like it? Peace. Black Lives Matter, go mad in the fucking Ghana. Go dig for fucking diamonds over there. Have fun. You realize you sound like a racist, right? Maddie, I don't care. You wanna know why? Because I'm not up there saying white lives matter, white lives come to the front, black lives go to the back. I'm just like, hey, what's up? How you doing? But when you want to come at me with your fucking black lives matter and this, that, and the other thing, and the white people need to go to the back because black people always had to go to the back, and the white people didn't do it, fuck your black ass. Get the fuck out. Get out of my country. You're causing the fucking problem. Bye.
I never said any of
Here's
that.
your ticket back to motherfucking Nigeria. Peace out.
I never said any of that.
The guy you voted for is the #1 fucking head of that fucking bullshit. He fucking started the shit. He fucking incites fucking riots. When he said, I support the Black Lives Matter movement, that's it. You're done. You're done. You're a dumb fucking nigger in my book. You have no fucking value to me.
Do you realize it makes you sound like a racist when you use racial slurs? So, like,
Don't be a dumb nigger. Don't be a dumb fucking nigger. Don't be your average fucking shoe shine boy. Get a job. Go to work. Do something other than sitting there making fucking videos about fuck Donald Trump, gonna take my mom's fucking food stamp away, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna start a war. I'm gonna go to war. Why don't you get a fucking job, you fucking nigga? Jesus Christ. It's all like a racist all I fucking want. I'm right. You don't want to.
Yeah, so y'all heard that for yourself. And the bad thing about that situation is, like, right after that situation, after she got out of that relationship with that guy, that woman, Madison Amelia, ended up with another white guy. I mean, it's like some of our people love being oppressed, man. Some of our people have no problem, being in these relationships with racist people. And there are situations where you have black men as well, and in those particular situations where you're dealing with a racist white woman. And again, it's another example of Stockholm syndrome. And I did a video a while ago about this football player who was with this white woman, this black football player who was with this white woman. And this white woman, according to him, called him the N-word and physically abused him. And when I get a chance, I'll post a link in the cards to that video where I discuss that matter. So it's not just the black women, but it's black men as well who have no problem being in relationships with white racist people. And again, that epitomizes, how lost a lot of our people are, how dumb a lot of our people are, how blind and ignorant a lot of our people are, how a lot of our people suffer from Stockholm syndrome, where they love the enemy, where they love the oppressor. And I just find it sickening. I find it repulsive that you would have a black woman being being attracted to and getting into a relationship with a damn neo-Nazi. How does that make sense? How do you explain that? So I'm going to go through your comments before I close out. I mean, I think I've made my point clear. Again, it's just another example of self-hatred. A lot of our people have been programmed to hate themselves, to hate their own people. So they cling on to white men, or they cling on to white women, viewing the white woman or the white man as some kind of standard. They view this white man as some knight in shining armor here to rescue and save them from the black men. And then you have these black men that view this white woman as some kind of model for what it means to be beautiful, as some kind of standard for beauty. They put her on a pedestal and they bow down and worship that white woman because they are thoroughly and completely brainwashed and they have been programmed to hate themselves. So let me go through your comments before I close out. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm still interested in hearing what Ann X has to say about how black men need to change our battle plan if we want to win black women back. And the point about him being sick, like, it took this guy having cancer to finally allegedly come to his senses and decide he's not going to be a racist. And you had this black woman saying that she loves this guy. Like, she said that she loved him. She told him that when he was still a Nazi. I'm just wondering what kind of conversations they had. Like, knowing that he's a Nazi, I wonder like if they even talked about race at all, given his racial views, given the fact that he was a part of a white supremacist organization. And somebody said they think that this is a hoax. I don't know if it's a hoax. Let me go back up to the comments. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, so Late Night Nap said that this is a hoax promoting something that you only see in the movies and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's the case. It does sound like something that you would only see in the movies, though. I have to admit, it sounds crazy. It sounds like they, you know, borrowed from The Bodyguard, that movie, The Bodyguard, with Whitney Houston back in the day, and then they borrowed something from that movie, American History X, where the guy goes from being a Nazi to being some reformed person. So it does sound like some Hollywood stuff, but I don't know if this is a hoax. And then Water Sniper points out how he joined the neo-Nazis after she talked to him about being attacked by a neo-Nazi. Yeah, I think that's correct. I think if I recall correctly from that video, like she talked about how she was attacked. And then he talked about, like, right after she mentioned that, he was talking about how he joined the neo-Nazis. But yet this woman decided to get into a relationship with this guy. Annex says name calling is not going to fix the problems between Black men and women. Learning how to reconnect to each other without doing it. That's what she says. Yeah, those terms that I use, like that you heard me use, are the terms that that white man used when he described these Black women that he was laying down with. He called them bed wenches. He called them belly warmers. And all you have to do is watch like a movie like The Roots, you know, the movie Roots, the original one, where, you know, there's a scene where they're on the boat and the guy's like, do you want me to bring you a belly warmer? Like he brings in this Black woman, you know, this Black slave. And, you know, one thing that has to be emphasized, like it wasn't something voluntary. I mean, these women were raped by these white men, by these slave captors and stuff like that. They were raped by these men, abused by these men. And they saw them as sex objects and treated them as such. And despite all that history, you have Black women in these modern times, some Black women who have no problem being in relationships with white racists. We're not talking about a situation where somebody just happened to fall in love with somebody, you know, just a non-racist white person. We're talking about being in relationships with men that refer to them as the N-word, you know, men who make all kinds of racist statements. I mean, in that example involving Madison Amelia, I mean, this guy was making, not only calling Black people niggers and saying that she was stupid for voting for, I think it was Obama, but he was also speaking out against Black Lives Matter and stuff. An organization that's fighting to protect Black people from police brutality. But she felt that, you know, it was appropriate to be in a relationship with this guy. And the fact that she recorded it makes it clear to me that that was not the first time that that man said racist things. You know, she probably heard him speak like that on several occasions, and she probably continued to be in that relationship with that man. And it was just on that particular occasion she decided to record it. But I can't understand these women who are in these relationships. I can't. Okay, I'm going through these comments. So Ann X said, if you believe dating and marrying black men is going to be the trend, what I have to say will not change a thing. I still want to hear what you have to say, you know, what your response is, like, to like how black men need to change their battle plan. I still want to hear what you have to say about that. Yeah, Water Sniper pointed out he carries around the flag, the uniform, the stickers. Like, if he really gave up that lifestyle, why is he still holding on to that stuff? When people turn their back on that kind of stuff, they get rid of it. They purge their life of that stuff. But yet this man is clinging on to a uniform. He has a uniform in his bag in his house. And yet this black woman gets down and is in a marriage with this guy. She's laying down with this man every night. A man who admits he's done terrible things. A man who clings on to this Nazi memorabilia. And Late Night Nap said, it's like the story of the old man who took a wounded snake in, and after taking care of the snake bit him. And he questioned the nature of the snake after getting bit. Exactly, man. A snake is going to do what snakes do. You know, a racist is going to do what racists do. I mean, you're taking these people in and then you're surprised that they're calling you the N-word. You're surprised that they're a racist. You're surprised that they're acting the way a snake would act. They're doing what snakes do. You know, nobody gets mad at a snake for biting somebody because that's what a snake's nature is to do. Just like it's a racist nature to use racial slurs. Man, it's just like so deep. You know, I know somebody could really go deep into this, like a psychologist could really just go deep into this whole thing and just break it all the way down. It's crazy. Naturally said she should have gotten an annulment. Exactly. But she was the one saying, well, I don't want to get a divorce. I don't want to separate from him. You know, so please don't tell me that. Water Sniper said, damn, honeymoon. And he's referring to that Essence article that I read. Stop reading. I can't listen to this disgusting article. Yeah, I feel you, man. It's crazy. That article is crazy, man. Yeah, and that's a deep point about, I see Late Night Nap said, whites are into fetishes. Look at how the white man treats his own woman. And then he cites the fact that over 60% of white women voted for a misogynist to be president. Voted for Donald Trump, despite all those derogatory things that he said about women, you know, despite him boasting about sexually assaulting women. Yet not black women, white women voted for this guy. So yeah, I mean, they abuse their own women. They treat their own women like trash. And they, you know, and these white women still support these guys that do that. And then Water Sniper pointed out how in that Essence article, the white guy said his other black girlfriend enjoyed being called nigger and derogatory slave names. Wow. Yeah, that's what the article said. That's crazy, man. I mean, it is crazy that you would actually have a black woman enjoying that stuff. I've seen pictures. I've seen people use like these photographs of like these black women that are participating in these slave fetishes and white supremacist fetishes, where you had, like, for instance, black women posing, kissing these white racists' feet, you know, posing as slaves, like in chains and stuff like that. And you've also seen like black men doing this as well. It's a whole industry of these people that are into these slave fetishes. You have, like, for instance, some black women that are doing the Nazi salute with, you know, Nazi words written on their chest and all that kind of stuff. It's really sick, man. You know, it's sick that we live in such a society where you have people that actually get off by being slaves, by being objects of oppression, by being referred to as the N-word and other derogatory racist terms. And Felicia said, I'm confused. Why is she complaining if she refuses to leave? It seems like she's seeking approval. Yeah, I'm confused as well. Like, why are you complaining about it, but yet you don't want to leave this guy? You know, a guy that's calling you racial slurs and stuff like that. You want to find some kind of way to make it work. That's the slave mentality, man. That's the kind of stuff slaves do, man. They make excuses for the slave master. They make excuses for the oppressor. They try to find out ways to get along with the oppressor. And it's deeply troubling. I mean, and it just makes me think about a time when you had that shooting in Charleston, South Carolina, where Dylan Roof went into that church and killed 9 people, 9 innocent black people while they were praying. And after that event occurred, you had one of these YouTube personalities on here, tap dancing, shucking and jiving, cooning, and doing what mammies do. You know, trying to basically take that opportunity to, instead of addressing the issue of racism in society, instead of addressing the issue of white terrorism in society, this woman went out of her way to use that as an opportunity to explain why black women should not abandon the white man and they should not give up on interracial relationships. That woman took that opportunity to talk about and complain about the fact that this guy didn't just target black men, you know, because, you know, one of his complaints, one of Dylan Roof's complaints was that black men were raping white women. That's one of the excuses that he used to kill those people. And she basically was implying that if that was his excuse for killing people, then why didn't he just target black men? That's what she implied. This is how these people operate, these people that suffer from Stockholm syndrome, these people that worship this white man. They have completely lost their minds, and they go out of their way to cling on to this white man, to make excuses for this white man, to defend this white man, even in this situation where you have this black woman married to this white man, despite all the abuse that this man put her through, verbal abuse and otherwise. Here she is trying to make sure that this person, this advice columnist, doesn't advise her not to get out of the relationship. And even in that situation involving Madison Amelia, this man was not only racist, he was physically abusive to her. But yet she remained in that relationship. The psychosis is deep among some of our people. And naturally said if she doesn't want to leave him, she needs to stay in the relationship and stop complaining. Wow. And I see that one of the people in the chat room said that her brother's girlfriend uses the N-word. And I think I guess she's a Pakistani. Man, it's crazy, man. And this particular commenter said she thinks that it's normal in these interracial relationships to use such terminology. I don't think it's normal. You know, I would be surprised if that normally occurs in interracial relationships. It's just crazy. And naturally said she would have been out. That's disgusting. She would have left. I see that somebody pointed out how Madison Amelia is mixed race. She has a white mother, and she isn't a black woman. You know, I get into that debate a lot. You know, I'm not one of these people that believe that if somebody's biracial, they're not black. You know, I'm not one of these people that are like some strict purists in terms of what it means to be black and all that kind of stuff. In this society, whether people like it or not, biracial people are viewed as black. And we know that race is a social construct. That's all that race is, a social construct. So, you know, biracial people are discriminated against just like any other black person. So as far as I'm concerned, biracial people are black, especially those who identify with their blackness and embrace their black culture and their black people. Yeah, I see somebody said that it's low self-esteem. That explains why these people are in these relationships. Exactly. Because there's no way that someone with a good sense of self would continue to be in a relationship with somebody who degrades them, you know, regardless of that degradation is based on race or some other reason. You know, a person with high self-esteem wouldn't tolerate that. And I see that somebody said, well, she's mixed race. Why should she date a black man? Her father chose a white woman. She chooses who she's like. Mixed people are not black. And I've already made my point about that. But in terms of like, I mean, and I do think that that is an issue. Like if somebody is biracial, you know, obviously they're going to have some love for one of their white parents. Like, you know, one parent is black, you know, in the situation that we're talking about involving black and white, you know, one parent is black and one parent is white. So I get your point to a degree. Um, But the thing that I can't understand is like, why would they not appreciate both of their parents at least? Like you have a lot of situations where, you know, these people that are biracial, they only date non-black people. You know, they end up marrying non-black people because you know, they're taught just like the rest of society to believe that white is better. You know, the white side of their family is better, and they choose to identify with that more so than the black side of their family. Just bear with me a second, y'all. All right, so I'm looking through the comments. And I see that Felicia said, I would not have started it up. There are signs and symbols that let you know. And naturally said that you're right. I'm sure he had made some kind of comment before. The honeymoon sex wasn't the first time, especially if they were intimate before. Exactly. I mean, so this notion that all of a sudden she just found out, like right after she got married, that this guy was into this, and then, I think that that's fishy. I'm sure that there was some kind of indications that this guy had those particular views or had that kind of attitude. And then Late Night Nap made a great point. Late Night Nap said that, yeah, that former Nazi had to be hardcore to get a leadership position. And that's what he had. He boasted about being the chief of SS forces, a leadership position. And he talked about how he did terrible things. But yet, this black woman found him to be fit to be her husband. And Late Night Nap also said, only those that rise in the rank go the hardest. This is very troubling, to say the least. And my sister indicated that mixed people are still half black. Exactly. That's the point that I was making. All right. And I'm not going to go into further about that whole issue about Madison Amelia being biracial. I think, I've made my point on that. And Stackhouse says that everything goes back to the Willie Lynch letters, the link between how we treat ourselves, the black community, and how we view white people. The thing about the Willie Lynch letter, I think that it has some great points in it, some enlightening points that we should learn from. But, the fact of the matter is it's not a real letter. It's fictitious. It's been proven to be a fake. So it's not a historical document, but I still think that there's information that people can learn from it. It's just a shame that something like that would be fake and that it has gained so much attention and, so many people rely on it. And it got popular because of the Million Man March. It's a letter that Farrakhan brought a lot of attention to, but unfortunately it's a fake. And I don't think that people should cite it as an authority for what we do today, because it's not real. Yeah, and I see the Cruel Gamer 83 said it's funny that sisters like that will lower their self-esteem to get with former Klans members, Nazis, and then get surprised that they are called derogatory names from them. Laughing out loud. Okay, hold on one second. I'll be right. I'm back. I'm going to have to end this hangout soon. I have to deal with something that's real important. So I'm only going to stay on here for a couple of more minutes and then close out. I want to thank you all for joining this hangout. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments as well. You provided some great commentary. So I'm going to look at a couple of more comments and then I'm going to close out. Shout out to Voltron Black. And Kendra said that some people have the mentality that their body parts would change someone. And she also mentioned that the majority of these swirlers suffer from low self-esteem. Exactly. Okay, and I see that somebody's citing David Carroll. He uses those images. He's on point. No, he's not on point. David Carroll is not on point. He specializes in misogyny and bashing Black women and Black people. His video, you can't make it through one of his videos without him insulting in fact, he insults Black men more than he insults Black women, constantly referring to Black men as stupid, but yet Black men sit up and listen to his long, ridiculous rants, proving his point that some Black men are stupid, to listen to and support that guy. And I've done countless videos like debunking his stuff in the past. But yeah, I mean, that man loves to bash Black women. What I'm talking about now are the few Black women that put up with these situations. I'm not talking about the majority of Black women, because the majority of Black women are in relationships with Black men. Voltron Black said our ancestors are just crying hard. Yeah, when they see this kind of stuff, man. And Kendra said she gets hit on by caucasoids, but I don't throw them any rhythm. It is pathetic for our people to be naive or desperate enough to trust these kinds of relationships. Exactly. And Kendra said that silly woman thought sex was going to alter that Nazi racist hatred. She was wrong. That's stupid, stupid to be in that kind of relationship. Exactly. So with that, I'm going to close out. I want to thank y'all for supporting this channel, for watching this video. And hopefully later on today, I'm going to do one last hangout about the Baltimore schools and the situation there, like in terms of schools being without heating, and just the whole issue of race discrimination and all that kind of stuff, how it's connected to that, if race is even a factor in that situation, given the fact that Black people run the government here in Baltimore. So I look forward to that hangout again. Thank you for your support. Good morning, peace, and blessings to each and every one of you.